So thank you for the invitation. Thank you to Jonah for the great introduction. You mentioned that open science, we need incentives, right, for open science. So this particular talk is just about one of the incentives. It's not the one that's going to make the difference. It's just the one that this particular project has worked on, and I can show you some evidence. Just before that, if you let me indulge a little bit in what our project is and what else we can deliver to you, hopefully before it ends. Here's the team, or this way is probably better. You may recognize some of them from the open air projects. For those of you working in the field, those of you not working in the field, if you attend those courses like this day today, you might run into those guys. Very knowledgeable crew. Taught me everything I know anyway. So you already saw this. What do we do as a project? We try and provide some kind of a logical backbone. So when people like you come in the room and say, what is this open thing all about? Well, we try and make sense of it. So here's one of our colleagues trying gather all the knowledge that the advocates have and pull it in some kind of taxonomy to show you how the different terms relate, and so you can then throw on it some definitions that you already saw. And really the ambition is that you don't just construct a vocabulary or a dictionary just for dictionary's sake, but you actually throw it onto something that makes sense to you as a scientist. And this is just our own version of the research life cycle that you might go through on a daily basis that you just saw a nice cartoon of, which I might steal for my future presentations. There's many versions of this. There isn't one that fits all, but the point is that you all as researchers go through some version of this, right? From the moment the light bulb goes in your head to the moment you produce something that you are evaluated on that determines your career. So the question here is, can you use this open thing to make your impact greater, bigger, more visible, to feed into whichever way you are evaluated in your discipline so that you get better career chances. And what else do we do? We also work on learning objectives because we don't just want to reach out to you as an individual researcher. We want to capture the graduate schools that train you or trained you so that we provide some scale, right? We want to say to the graduate schools, this skill is not just a fancy skill that is a sexy jargon word right now. It's something that can provide concrete benefits to your students and it can fit into your criteria of success as a graduate school. So we're providing them learning objectives on various topics which fit the taxonomy that I just showed you, and that drills really through the research life cycle that you might be experiencing as a student. So, and those, of course, are trying to adhere to some minimum standards that the graduate schools that trained you might use. What else do we do? We try to keep the conversation going on where else does open science make a difference. Can it make a difference to the peer review process? Do you think the peer review process is perfect? Could it be better? Does openness have anything to contribute in a meaningful way? Can that feed into any of the incentives that previous speaker just listed on the board? Another way we try to support the future needs is really what this talk is all about. How do we gain our next grant, and can we use open science to gain our next research grant? For those of you who might want to stay in research, it's more likely that you will have to raise grants on a regular basis just to keep yourself in business. Whether we like it or not, that's becoming rapidly the reality. So if there is any other way, any way other than research excellence that could help you gain that half a point at evaluation in a world that's likely to become more and more competitive, then that's worth paying attention. So what we've done here is we've produced really a small brief of 15 pages which captures everything that you are more likely to hear today and in the workshops this afternoon at highlight level. And it's telling you why it's important to introduce openness into each step of your workflow and how that might actually make a difference at evaluation. Can it optimize your chances at raising your next research grant? And all we've done is we've reduced it into a page. Don't copy paste it into your grant. This is just an example, so that it guides your philosophy towards your next grant. But it just shows you how you can pull different pieces of openness, from data to code to the papers, to communicating, disseminating, and translating what your science means, and include that into your next proposal concept and see what happens. Well, we did. We offered it to several projects, and we take that document on a magical mystery tour, and we train people like you. But occasionally, we also consult on grants, consortium grants, to see whether it makes actually any difference. Let's just quickly look at what the Horizon 2020 mandate is. If Horizon doesn't mean anything to you, scratch it out and replace it with the proposal grant that you're writing next. Most likely than not, if you're going to a public funder, and even some of the private ones, they will require certain things. So the actual mandate on openness, it looks like this. It's many, many pages. You might have to read it at some point. It's not a terribly exciting read, but the take-home message is that beneficiaries must ensure open access to all their peer-reviewed scientific publications, because, as the previous speaker mentioned, that is the pinnacle of your work. That's what you're evaluated on, and that's how you communicate what you just learned in your work. And that means that you need to deposit research data somewhere that someone else could use, discover, and mine, exploit, or even check that what you did is true as a concept. And of course, free of charge, without barriers, so that it could be used, reused, and so on. Another way of looking at the mandate is just a word cloud. It's not terribly synthetic, but it gives you a flavor of where it's all going. It cares very much about articles. It cares about dissemination of those articles. It tells you that you have obligations as an applicant if you want to be funded. There's lots of musts, which again, tied up to obligations. They do care about the data, and what else do they care about? You get the flavor. If you jump into the actual really nitty-gritty details, this is what the application may look like for many of the public funders. They do care about excellence, and we can't help you there. There you're on your own. You have to have your good ideas. But where we can help you with openness is at impact. And what you notice is that this is the weighing of each of the three sections. Each section is equally important. You can't say, if I have my excellence, I will win my grant. Because if you're not having a justified impact, then you will not get it. So that's where we believe that openness can really contribute in maximizing the impact of everything you are about to find out. And really, if we break that down further, what does that talk about? Well, impact cares about responding to the call, basically. We can't change that. But it also talks about these things in red that tend to scare us away as researchers. It says that your research should deliver something to markets. We're not trained to do that. So that's scary. And it should also show some measurable or tangible impact at societal level. How do we place our own research in societal context? That's a skill in itself. But by giving you these high-level challenges, sometimes the template actually gives you the answers too. And the reason they want these scary red things is to help you really disseminate your research, leave it in a form that someone else can come and build on it, building on the shoulders of giants. And what they expect is that you have some kind of a management strategy for the data or the knowledge you're about to produce. You've thought about it, and you say what will be accessible to whom and when, and if it's not, this is why. And that kind of thinking is really highly valued at proposal level. And last but not least, if you have thought that way about your concept, that sets you up for a really strong way of communicating everything you're about to find out in societal context, which actually makes you a better researcher at formulating research questions. It makes you a better teacher if you actually teach graduates. So there's a number of career benefits in doing this well, other than winning this grant. I'm just showing you really our penultimate page of this little brief, which I haven't printed out, but you could easily find online. And the key message here is that you really, if this openness thing looks really alien and bizarre to you, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are ways to do it, and the workshops this afternoon really drill through how to do this at grant level. You could cherry pick a little bit of each workshop this afternoon and construct a better grant proposal. So, if I haven't bored you yet, I guess the question you should be asking yourself is, does this really make any difference at evaluation of proposals? And this is my no comment slide, so I'll just leave you with this. Thank you.